it stresses me out because I feel like I'm never going to find my true passion. What would you advise me on that? Thank you.
It's a great question. My perspective on this is it's no different than kissing a bunch of frogs until you find your prince. No different than dating or friendships. You know, all of us at this point watching this video have gone through friendships and potentially relationships, and the reality is some new kid moves in 4th grade, you think you're gonna be friends, the first couple days are good, and then the 3rd day she or he shows you that they're not a nice person and you walk away, which is fine. No different than interests and passions. You know, the reality is that I went skiing once back, 15 years ago, and it was fine. I kind of liked it. I was surprised I was decent by the 3rd day, but it wasn't a passion of mine, and it's not something I want to allocate instead of going garage sailing. That's okay. You're also extremely young, and the reality is that I wouldn't beat yourself up or overjudge yourself just because you didn't fall in love with cooking or being a yoga teacher or being into concrete manufacturing. The reality is you still haven't found it. That's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. You're getting judged by people who've settled. This is an incredibly important point in our society. Normally, the people that will cast judgment on someone who's still trying to explore are people who themselves settled without exploring and are subconsciously deploying misery loves company. Just to give you context of what just happened, that just sucked the air out of the room with my team behind this camera because it's such a profound point that I've not really made this articulately, and it's very important for all of you. If you continue to be fighting to find your happiness and you find yourself getting judgment from your inner circle, I promise you, many of them just gave up and they are envious, and subconsciously, they're good people. These are your parents, these are your best friends, these are your siblings. They're not intending to be mean, tear you down, stop you, conform you into settling like they did, but that's exactly what they're doing, so that there be no confusion. Your inner circle, society, is incredibly subconsciously interested in you conforming. Don't.
How do you think is the best way for us to get over the fear of failing at this? Because it's kind of taking a leap. We're currently an in-house marketing department for a 21 chain retail store.
I think you guys need, if you guys are taking a leap, you guys are rounding the troops and saying, screw this place, we're going to do our thing. You've got to first decide, here are the ways to do it. You do the emotional and the practical when you take a leap. The practical is, how many of you are doing it?
3.
The 3 of you have to figure out, worst case scenario, nothing goes well, how long can you survive on your savings, or you're willing to be entrepreneurial ghetto? Got it?
Yeah.
So the 3 of you need to sit in a circle and you go, India, how long can you last? And India says 18 months. Andrew, how long can you last? 4 months. Andy, how long can you last? 2 years. We know we're only as strong as our weakest link. Goddamn Andrew's only got 4 months. So we have to talk about that. Number 1, do you think that the 3 of you can go without any sales for a year?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is we have investors from the company that got behind us, and they're like, we kind of have a safety net a little bit if it fails.
So great. It sounds like you created the practical version, and now you just have to make the emotional version. Too many people, and you know I've been talking about this, fake entrepreneurship. If you're scared to make the jump, you still have entrepreneurial tendencies. You're not an entrepreneur yet. It's why you worked in a company in the first place. You just got to make the jump or not. It's like swimming. You either jump in the pool and you go, or you don't. The end.
Yeah, definitely. And then that's kind of my fear, because we're just starting this. It's kind of new frontier, and
dude, you can't be. Dude, don't be scared. Nothing's gonna happen. You can always go back to the goddamn job.
Yeah.
I mean, what's gonna happen? Like, people are gonna make fun of you? Like, your mom's gonna say you failed? Like, who gives a shit? Go try it. Doesn't work, and go. Don't care what other people think. It's the only reason you're scared.
Yep.
Whether it's your spouse, your partner, your child, your mother, whoever it is. Eliminate those voices, listen to yourself, and know that if you fail, you go back into it and nothing bad will happen. But if you win, it's the greatest shit that ever happened. The way the world is working with internet content, there is so much content. You could never oversaturate the market, even if you made 90 pieces of content a day about yourself. But this is why I went over here as I'm talking. The interesting part of why most of you are not producing enough content has a hell of a lot more to do with this than with this. We are crippled by other people's opinions. You're not posting because you want shit to be perfect. Why do you want it to be perfect? Because you're fucking insecure. You know why? Because it just ruins your day when Fat Pants 86 leaves a comment and says that you're stupid, right? You're just super sad when you post something and you're used to getting 89 likes, but this one got 62. I have become outrageously fascinated by something over the last 2 years, which is, oh my God, the majority of people live their lives based on other people's opinions. Whether it's their parents, older sibling, or even worse, the current state, the anonymous person in their YouTube comments. That sucks.
It's hard for me to hear the booing because I don't hear the cheering. I'm very big on that. I think it really matters. I think it starts at a young age. I've been spending a lot of time on what we cheer for our children become their framework. If we cheer that they're so good looking, they start to find value in their looks and become vulnerable in their 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. If we cheer for their sports acumen and like they're gonna be a pro and then they're not, they're lost at 22. Here's the scary one. If we cheer about their grades, we teach them to conform to systems that judge them every 90 days. That one scares me to no end. I will definitely be exploring that. This is the first time you've heard it. I'm in the lab working on this one. If we teach our kids to do good every 90 days by the subjective nature of a system, the current academic system, and a subjective notion of the teacher deciding them to give them an A and a B based on class participation, we are teaching them to conform to the system. And then they become those humans. So I think what we cheer for, my mom cheered for two things. No, my mom cheered for one thing and then the world cheered for a thing. As a child, I was booed for my sports acumen, my scholastic acumen, and anything else, my look, whatever. And though my mom told me I was the best looking at all the time. But my mom cheered when I was a nice kid, and the world cheered for me when I did business. When I sold lemonade and sports cards, the world told me I was good. My mom told me I was good when I was nice to people, not because of my grades. And I'm a 46-year-old, obnoxiously successful businessman who pushes kindness. I don't think that's by accident. I think for all of us, we need to think about, as managers, as leaders, and definitely as parents, what do you cheer for? I think Vayner has a great culture because I'm more often cheering a C-suite or an SVP for how they handle the situation from an emotional standpoint, more than how much money they brought in. I have so many friends that like nice things. They always get mad at me because I put out a lot of content about this and I don't do a good enough job, so I'm gonna try to be better about it. The reason I talk about buying things is because if you really know, if like you grew up for 25 years, 40 years, like reading car books and going to it and it was your grandfather's thing, like it makes all the sense in the world when you get to financial memes that you want a Lamborghini. What I'm worried about, no different than buying an NFT or anything else, are the people who are buying it to disguise the actual truth. They're using it as a proxy for their insecurity. It's how I'm gonna get the girl because I'm insecure. It's how people are gonna think I'm successful because they don't. It's all that stuff. I get worried about that because I know that's not a sustainable model for happiness, and I talk about that. You know, investing in yourself comes in a lot of forms. You know, it's one thing to say, don't buy a Starbucks for $8 or don't buy a Lamborghini or Rolex and put it into a content, a mastermind, like things to better yourself. My personal belief is better yourself is a simple game of this. I actually think most people need to downsize and simplify at scale. Maybe not as crazy as what your parents did, but that was an extreme version that actually has a ton of merit.
Well, they left LA.
Yeah, think about the time we were in America that led to a lot of that kind of behavior. And I actually think there's a lot of truth in it. Like, it's so funny because I'm so into business, I'm into all this other stuff that I love. So it's not obvious what's actually happening in my wiring, but I just want more simplicity for people. The more simplicity you have, and for me, simplicity comes
in the form of judgment. The thing that I'm trying to think as much about as possible is how do I have a conversation that might impact someone positively about the concept of judgment, and it actually starts with yourself. The thing that I'm really hot on right now is, of course, so many people are judging each other. They start with themselves. I just wish people wouldn't beat themselves up so much. Like, I hate when people are like, oh, but Gary, you don't get it. I'm so ambitious. I'm like, I'm the fucking craziest ambitious person I've ever met in my life. That doesn't mean that if I don't win this year or this decade that I think I'm a piece of shit. That's not healthy. And I definitely don't have envy. Envy is a framework of conversation that has to be eliminated. How can you envy someone when you don't know them? You know a piece of them. You know a headline of them. You might like something that's going on with them. How can you actually envy somebody that you know nothing about? We just have to simplify. Simplify, but like, for me, it's so simple to be content and hungry as fuck at the same time. I've come to know that that's confusing and sounds like a contradiction, but I have to continue to unpack it because in that is fucking everything. It's the whole game. When you like want it more, like I want to be the greatest human that ever lived. I genuinely swear on my children's health as I sit in front of you here right now that when I die in 55 years, when I'm in heaven doing my Google shit, I'm gonna look down and I'm like, okay, good. 7 billion people came to my funeral. That's how I wake up every day trying to navigate my life. At the same token, if it all ended tomorrow and 9 people came, that's fine too. And finding that balance of extremities to make it balance, not like something that's confusing, is something we have to talk more about. And so to answer your question in a very long-winded way, what I would say to that person is break it down, get simpler, tune out the noise. Most of all, tune out your own noise against yourself. Everybody else is gonna have judgment on you. You need to be your #1 fucking fan for real, not kidding.
I DJ, I make music, I make beats, I record music, I, make clothes, I brand, blah, 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 blah.
You're a Renaissance man.
Yeah. And that's, I feel like that's super normal right now.
It is super normal, because the internet lets you do that.
Yeah, and a lot of people try to get you to focus on one thing. But
They're
if I
fucking
focus
wrong.
on one thing,
The
I'm
people that
super bored.
the people that try to get you focused on one thing are the people that focus on one thing and are boring as fuck.
So I guess with all of that, I'm trying to figure out good ways to grow in all of those spaces more than I have been. It's not going poorly. It's not going amazingly. So it's kind of one of those things where if you're trying to...
Ready? Let me break it down. You could actually get more followers and get more paper if you just go, potentially, if you go all in on whichever one of those 6 things you're best at. You could. You also wouldn't be fucking you, and you wouldn't be happy.
Yes.
So my big thing to the fucking world is, would you rather be happy and have a little less following and a little less money, or would you rather be sadder and have more following, a blue check, and a couple more dollars? It's a real simple question. Now, my favorite part, what I actually know in my soul, is if you actually stay the course and are just yourself the whole way, you're always one piece of content, either an anime, either in a beat, either in a rhyme, either in a thing. You're always one moment away from things popping off. And then you can say, wait a minute, this just went viral. This just went fire. Drake just like this. What do I do? Then you can decide if you want to go all in on that thing at that moment. But it was that happiness and that continuous making that allowed you to get to that serendipity. So I don't think it's an either or. I actually think you will be bigger, make more money if you stay the course of being Renaissance man. It just takes time, bro. I fucking made videos for 6-7 years before anybody gave a fuck.
Oh yeah, I know that's the thing. And I've already, I've accepted doing everything. I've been through many years of my friends telling me, you should just be a photographer. You should just make music. You should just, do whatever. And so I'm past that. I'm at that point. But it really just sounds like you're saying, just keep grinding it out and it'll come to you.
Yes, because you'll be happy. Some people are not talented and they eventually never really make it, but there is one other overlay. How long have you been following me?
Years. I actually was one of those watched daily V, and then I stopped. I'm not too much a fan of weekly V, so I like got into it and I was like, this isn't for me, and I've sort of moved on. But it's probably been 5 years in total.
So now a really important question. When I started going ham a year plus ago on TikTok, how quickly did you go on, or did you?
I just started. I've been trying to
Let's stop right there. That. I'm gonna give you something real powerful here, bro. That. Yes, keep grinding, but please understand that when there's a new platform and there's a land grab of attention, next time, go hard.
Yeah,
Promise me this, Dave. Promise me this. I've got now 15 years of being right about this shit. In 18 months, in 36 months, in 48 months, when I'm like, Lollipop is the shit. Everybody get on Lollipop. Make your fucking augmented reality fucking icon. Go. I'm telling you, Lollipop. This is just like TikTok. This is just like Twitter. That next time, Dave, I need you to fucking go immediately blindly and being like, I fuck with Garyvee, fuck it. I'm not making the same mistake. Because if you go on TikTok today versus when I fucking told everybody to go on it, you left fucking millions of views on the table. You can't get big like that no more because everyone's on the top.
Yep. I know that's the thing. I think I was concerned about, I think yesterday you talked about how every social network starts as one thing and then becomes everything. Yeah, yes. Exactly. So I immediately am like, I'm not dancing, I'm not making memes, I'm not doing blah, 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 things that don't work with my personality. And so I avoided it because my personality wasn't linking with
This is why I always say to people, watch what I do, not what I say. I went on there and fucking made Garyvee shit. Mm-hmm. I didn't make TikTok shit, I made Garyvee shit. Right? And the next time fucking Lollipop comes out, whatever's going on in Lollipop, you don't make Lollipop shit, you make Black Dave shit. Got it? This is very important. You have to ask yourself what your relationship is with money. It's imperative. So much of my luck is because I don't like it enough. All my friends are like, all my friends have I have so many friends that have moved to Puerto Rico and Miami and Texas. It's like fucking out of control, right? And they love to razz me. They're like, you're in fucking, not only are you in New York, you're in New York City, you're paying city tax. They'll go on a whole 13 fucking, I make real money, that's real money. And they'll go on a 13-minute fucking rant. And then I'm like, I don't care. And they're just baffled. I'm like, I like New York. I need the action. I don't want to fucking live in LA or Miami or Puerto Rico or fucking Ecuador. I want to live in fucking Manhattan. And so but for other people, they love money. And guess what? Zero judgment. Who the fuck am I? Fuck me, I don't care. If they wanna move from LA to fucking Austin, Texas, knock yourself out. If you wanna move from fucking Connecticut to fucking the outskirts of Miami, have a fucking ball. I think that a lot of people get hurt by the ideology of perfection. So I think one of the reasons, long before I had D-Rock or a team, I was able to, by myself, while running businesses, be active on every platform, is because I didn't ideologically think about every single piece of content. I think when you're trying to make every piece perfect for yourself, perfection is usually just another word for insecurity. Everyone's overthinking it. And so one, it's to feel comfortable with that. Number two is to be okay with not being on 6 platforms. I think sometimes we feel too much pressure to be everywhere. I talk about it, I'm like, be everywhere, post a lot. A lot of people can't manage that, and that's okay. I believe it has to do with insecurity of success of the piece of content. The biggest reason people didn't go to TikTok when they were winning on Instagram was they didn't have the humility and the self-confidence to not be successful on TikTok immediately. So I think the biggest reason people don't produce is more of a mental game than, it's not hard to produce content for 6 platforms. It's really not. You can do it. It's that people fear lack of success in numbers from a vanity standpoint, which stopped them from actually doing it. So I think humility is one of the true superpowers of a scaled influencer or content creator. Being okay with starting at zero, or being okay if the content's not doing great. I'll give you another, for example, with me on TikTok, even though I know it's the most important platform, I don't have the time to produce original TikToks, so I know my post-produced content doesn't maximize my ability to win on TikTok, but I'd rather still put out stuff and get what I can than be insecure that I'm only getting 50,000 views on a TikTok when I have 13 million followers. That doesn't register to me as a negative. For too many people, it does register as a negative. I think the biggest issue for content creators is them being inspired by someone else, and then them subconsciously, not even consciously, subconsciously trying to be like that person, which is an incredibly difficult task because every one of us in this room, me included, have strengths and weaknesses in their ability to create content. So I think there's a couple things to think about. One, your own self-awareness of what you're good at. For example, I'll give you one. I think the concept of writing content is like forgotten in a visual world, yet I can tell you that some of my written content on LinkedIn is dramatically more profound and does well than my clips on TikTok or Instagram. And there may be people in this room whose strongest method of communication is actually in written form, yet the push towards short form video or images make them work on that when they're deviating from a strength. So I think first and foremost, what I think about is a couple things. And they're all in the form of transparency and self-awareness. One, what are you best at communicating? Is it audio, video, written form? Two, the thing that has kept me in a very strong position from the earliest wine videos I made to what I'm gonna do tomorrow is I have never talked about something I don't know, ever. I think when you're a content creator, you feel pressure to output. And when you feel pressure to output, you can get very caught to start talking or creating around something you may not fully understand. A lot of people come and go, and there's some very clear truths to having success. And I think it's one, understanding your format while still trying to challenge yourself. You may be better at writing. It's still good to try to be better at video, but it's not crippling yourself and thinking you can only be successful if you do video. Two, do not deviate from your knowledge. Now, that doesn't mean look at me, I'm talking about NFTs. I spent 100 hours of research before I made my first video, but putting in the work to be able to talk about something new is very important. The quickest way I've seen people lose is by being too quick to talk about things they don't know. Very important. Number three, a very big thing for everybody to keep in mind here, do not fall in love with the platform that got you there. A very big thing that I've seen consistently in the last 15 years is Twitter was your strong platform, here came Instagram, and you didn't want Instagram to become big because you didn't want to start over and build up your following count. So many, and this is gonna make sense for all of you, so many leaders on Instagram made a huge mistake by not adopting TikTok, right? They didn't want to because they had all their followers. Constant mistake, being too romantic about platform and not adjusting to where the attention is actually going. One of the things as creators we think about is how do we sustain for a long period of time because people may get bored. There's many different ways to talk about this. First of all, I once took a 2.5-year gap of producing any content. 2.5 years. So for 5 years I did wine content from 2006 to 2011, and then in 2014 I started the Ask Garyvee show. That's a long gap. So I think a lot of times we beat each other up. You beat yourself up for not producing content. I'm potentially one of the most prolific content creators of the last decade, And I once took almost 3 years where I made almost no content. So I hope that gives everyone a sense of relief that if you have a bad week or even a bad month, it doesn't mean the end of your content career. That's number one. Number two, notice what I came back and did. After 5 years of doing wine content and not doing content for 3 years, the content pillar that I decided to do was a Q&A format. Why did I do that? Because I needed the audience to be a contributor to the content creation. I think one of the great mistakes that a lot of people make is they don't incorporate their audience as a potential starter to creative. It is an amazing training wheels, setup, chess move, putting you halfway home. Incorporating your audience to being a starting point to more content is something more people need to do. Q&As, answering questions, interactions. And then finally, I'm a very big believer in what I do with D-Rock. Like filming your day-to-day is an incredible way to scale content. The other thing I did was I did a ton of podcasts and shows that had very small audiences just to be on the receiving end of questions so that I would have content. So literally DMing small podcasts and saying, hey, if you'd like to interview me, and as you're evolving through your careers, that's a good get for a small podcast. So it's good for them, but it's also good for you because you can post-produce the creative. And what's amazing about Q&A is the questions take you to places you won't take yourself. So those are some things to think about.
I got into a point in my life where my brother and sister, they've been, I guess, given the gift to like understand their passion and what they want out of life.
Good.
And they're both in the art like field.
Okay.
And for some reason, like for me, like I just can't figure out what it is.
Have you tasted enough shit?
I am trying to taste a bunch of shit right now.
That's the game. The biggest concern I have for you is that you think you did something wrong and now you're behind.
That's how I feel.
I know, which is why you're trouble.
Yeah.
The second you think, oh fuck, I fucked up and did all this and now here I am at 24 and I'm fucking just starting at 0, you're gonna lose. Instead of saying, where do I rank in the 7.7 billion people in the world? Oh shit, I live in America? Oh shit, I'm 24? Oh shit, I'm healthy? The second you realize, bro, you're 24?
25.
Great. You know what I was doing 25? Stocking fucking shelves in this store. Let me just say it one more time if you're confused what I just said. Do you know what the fuck I was doing at 25? Stocking, not even in this store, because this store wasn't built yet, in a little fucking store underneath this floor. That's what I was doing at 25.
Yeah.
Bro, that's it. That's the answer. The answer is you're not gonna find nothing if you're still dwelling on what got you to this spot. If you actually said, oh shit, I'm 25, I can do for 5 years. I'll be a cook for 6 months. I'll be an architect for 6 months. I'll flip fucking garage sale shit for 6 months. I'll start a sneaker brand for 6. If you did that and realize at 30, after 5 years of that, you're still young as fuck,
Yeah.
then you win. If you're like, fuck, I grew up, I was good at school, I was doing this, and fuck, you lost. The Jets thing is a fun side thing. It's been with me for so long, since I was in grade school. I'm so grateful that happened to me. Me for myself, I invented that little dream because it's been like so fun. Like, I really wish people understood my journey to buy the Jets. And I've been saying it more clearly lately, so some people are starting to understand. It's just fun trying. I love the pain. A really nice kid asked me just backstage about, or like at the VIP thing about, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I said, you got to get really, really, really used to losing. You got to get real comfortable with losing. Most people's limitation on their earning capacity is completely predicated on their stomach for losing. People are so insecure that they worry about other people's opinions about their winning and losing that they stop in a very soft zone and they don't push themselves. I don't care what the people in the crowd are saying about what I'm doing on the field. I'm on the field. If I lose, if a division doesn't work, if an investment doesn't work out, if my companies have a bad year, I'm not super worried about what you guys think. You're eating popcorn watching me do it. Right? So that's how we should all think. Your mom is eating popcorn watching you do it. Your husband is eating popcorn watching you do it. Your kids are eating popcorn watching you do it. And then Anonymous Rick in the comments is definitely eating popcorn watching you do it. So I struggle and so want to positively shake people. I'm like, you're not doing certain thing because one person's leaving negative comments. That's insane. Do you know how sad someone's life is if they actually decide to watch your content and leave a negative comment? You shouldn't be sad for you, you should be sad for them. I'm serious, every time somebody brings hate towards me, I feel compassion. I'm like, man, thank you, God. If my life was watching someone else and trying to tear them down, that is dark. All the time. I DM them like, I'm sorry you're not good. Is there anything I can do for you? And they're like, oh, I'm just kidding, you're the best. And that makes me happy. That makes me even triple down when they say that. Of course, I love compassion. I think it's a fucking hard skill. Everyone's gotten so lazy. Somebody leaves a slightly, not even critical, a slightly not what you wanted comment, and you're like, troll. I'm watching. People leave a follow-up question. People are like, hater. It's not even negative. People are so fucking soft. Everybody's a hater, a troll. Of course, if they're saying abusive things, of course. But again, that person's hurting. Think about living your life and being what? You're ugly. That person's hurting. We need a new conversation. We have no compassion. Everyone's just drawing lines in the sand. We have no civility. We have politicians acting worse than the worst people in my high school acted. The fuck is going on out here? Fucking fuck. Seriously. And I see it, that's obviously the world. In business, it's hurting your bottom line. It is hurting your bottom line. It is hurting your bottom line.
Especially now that there's so many options.
Yeah. I'm just fascinated by the confusion, but I know it's grounded in emotional issues. And sometimes people hit me up and they're like, all right, so what do I do about it? I'm like, well, if you can afford it, therapy's a good idea, right? Get it out, work on yourself, fight. You have a life. This is 400 trillion to 1. 400 trillion to 1 is the odds of being a human being. Literally your mom might have just got up for another glass of wine and you wouldn't even exist. Why don't people think about that shit? The miracle of life is fucking insane to the nanosecond. And so people are just interesting. If you're in this room right now, your life is better than you think. That I promise.
Of course, they have you on stage.
It's not that, it's you could even be here. You could be here, right? No, I think people lack gratitude. They just do. People are just worried about what they don't have versus realizing what they have. And I loved when everyone's like, oh, now that COVID hit 2 years ago, oh, now I'm gonna be grateful. Shit, this is really gonna wake me up. I didn't realize. fuck that. Everyone's crying about dumb shit again. I was able to 95% of the time successfully figure it out without candor, which is a very high ratio. I just got to the point in my life where the 5% didn't feel good enough anymore. You know, I just kind of like, there was a Facebook group of former employees talking negatively about me, and I was just like, this shouldn't be. I don't care about the money. I love people. Like, this shouldn't be. And I'm like, the only thing I do poorly is I don't give people critical feedback, and it fucks it up. And I'm like, I gotta stop. And I've really worked on myself.
How were you able to do that?
By suffocating myself. By acknowledging it, right? By just, and by doing what I'm doing right now. I'm trapping myself and putting it out in the open. It's why I think everybody should just post their weight on the scale every morning to the world. I mean it. I mean it. I mean it. It really works. It really works. Public accountability is powerful. So that's why I wrote the book.
Wow. What are some of the other ingredients that you feel could be very valuable?
Well, what's interesting about the book is that I decided to frame it, you know, when you sit down and write a book or gather your thoughts, or even like when you think about having a conversation, you're not exactly sure how you're gonna package it if it's big. A quick thing, sure. And ingredients really worked for me, because what I realized when I was talking out the book was, oh, I don't use any of these things in a silo. I need like 3 things at once to address this issue. So like, and sometimes it seems very in conflict. For example, patience and conviction at the same time seems weird. Or ambition and patience fucks everyone up. I push patience. How many people here consume my content? Raise your hands. Thank you. If you didn't raise your hand, you hurt my feelings. So for the people that just raised their hand, I talk about patience 24/7. A lot of people DM me, they're like, man, I don't like this patience thing, Gary. Like, what about the hustle? What about like ambition? I'm like, I'm the most. I'm like, do not confuse patience with complacency. Do not confuse patience with being lazy. Patience is being thoughtful. Patience is measuring twice before you cut once. Real estate has a major patience issue because people know the market moves, and so they get erratic when times are good, and sometimes even more erratic when times are bad. Patience matters. People compromise their reputation when they're scared. Patience matters. So the book, you know, tenacity is one of the ingredients. It seems like a hard word, like a tenacity. And then like, you know, having tenacity and conviction, but then also patience and kindness and self-awareness. There's just a lot there, and ingredients worked. I'm like, you know, sweet and sour chicken is weird. It's sweet and sour. But we've all agreed that like we're good with it. And I don't think people are good with tenacity and patience. And so I thought that framework could start to frame up my argument.
People say things that drive me crazy because they don't want to do it. As if you can't find it. Are you telling me you're at this conference and you can't find people? You don't know what Fiverr is, you don't know how to post on LinkedIn, you don't know how to search terms on Twitter. Like, people come up with excuses. A lot of people don't grow because they want money to buy things. A lot of people's businesses don't grow because they want the business to give them money so they can get a Corvette or a second. This is back to, you've got to find the thing you like. Because if you're building a brand or your thing to buy the yacht, you're not gonna build a very big thing. I'm just building the thing to build the thing. It's more interesting for me to build the thing than it is. It's like this. Some people love, actually here's a great comp. This blew my mind. One of the most stunning things that happened to me in my life. My whole life, I've wanted to be a professional athlete, right? So by 5th grade, I was like, fuck, I don't think I can play for the Jets. These kids have gotten much bigger and stronger. In fact, I had such good hand-eye coordination that I was fucking killing people in 1st and 2nd and 3rd grade. But somewhere around like 5th grade, I'm like, why is everyone twice my size now?
And so I was like, this might not be in the cards, and that's when I decided to buy the Jets. But I was like, fuck it, if I can't play for it, I'll just own the whole fucking thing. So now me and AJ get into the sports business and we have a big practice now. And when I realized that a lot of kids play professional sports, but they don't love the game, it was just their best way to monetize, that like blew my mind. And I mean, really don't like it. And like even when we recruit kids now, I never want to recruit a kid that doesn't love the game. Because I don't think they're going to be at the, because we make our money on the second and third contract. There's kids that sign that first contract and it's a wrap. You want to know why people are out of the league in 3-4 years? Because they didn't give a fuck about the game. So for me, this thing that we're talking about, I don't want the things that come from being the best entrepreneur in the world. I just want to be the best entrepreneur in the world. So it goes to like, do you love it? Because if you don't, you can't get there. And so a lot of people don't have a D-Rock or a team because they don't want to spend the $53,000 on it because they want a Birka bag and they want to go to Tahiti and they want a fucking Lambo. You're taking the money out of your business for your insecurities instead of feeding the business to win the fucking game. People want to look successful more than actually be successful. Back to why I make so much content about self-esteem. The reason I focus on love and being kind to yourself and the shit that I've been talking about is that's the seed of the whole game. If you need Lambos and chains and accolades and check marks and 1 million followers to clog the holes that you have in your soul, then you're gonna not be able to build meaningful things because you're taken out of your business instead of feeding it. I always speak to the audience I'm speaking to. So once I saw that the audience was extremely young and unbelievably deep on Instagram, it gave me the context to know that a lot of people on Instagram are living a life to portray a certain lifestyle, which means that people are spending money they don't have. Now, I think taking on debt to build a business or upgrade your home where you can afford the mortgage, all great. But I think a lot of people are spending money on dumb shit, and are buying cars and clothes and vacations that they can't afford to impress other people, and that was the point I was trying to make.
Well, they say it's for the content.
Yes, but I think that's an excuse a lot of times. Yeah. When people say, but Gary, it's for the content, I hear, but Gary, it's for my insecurity.
Okay.
If it's for the content and you can show me that you're building a travel blog and you're making that money back, well, that's an investment. If it's costing you $17,000 to go to Bali, but in the next 3 months or 3 years, you're gonna get paid to subsidize that, that's fine. The reality is, I don't see that often. The way I think about finances is pretty interesting. I don't think about it from my whole life I've been able to make money. So, and I understand that that's a rare talent, I do. Like, most people aren't super gifted in making money. So I don't fear finances the way many do. At the same token, I don't put it for that reason probably, I don't love it either. So when I think about 5 or 10 years from now, it feels similar to now, which is, I want to keep making money so I can keep reinvesting it and keep giving myself opportunities to play. I'm not, I save money for a rainy day, but you don't need that much. Yeah. Well, let me rephrase, it's percentage I don't need that much by percentage of what I make because I'm not looking to live too big of a lifestyle. So I put some away, but for the most part, I use money to give myself opportunities to play business. It's like a game.
So, kind of, you against the lavish lifestyle?
Against the what, my friend?
Lavish lifestyle.
Lavish? Yeah, for me, it doesn't bring me pleasure. I don't want a boat, I don't want a fancy car, I don't want jewelry or art. But I don't judge other people. If you can afford it, do whatever the hell you want. Give it all away to charity, buy a $5 million painting. If you can afford, especially if you made it, if you made the money and you can afford it, you're my favorite person. Because then you can do whatever the hell you want with your money. I think, and by the way, if you inherit it, you inherited it. So you were in a fortunate situation. Obviously, I don't look at that the same way because I admire people who make it. But no, I do not. I'm unbelievably unimpressed with somebody who flaunts their money with things. I don't judge it, but it doesn't get me excited at all. I've never looked at anything and been impressed by it for its cost. I don't even know what things cost.
Yeah.
I don't, when I go to if I'm in, I think a lot about when I'm in Cannes for the marketing festival, or if I'm in Beverly Hills for an event, or I remember I was somewhere, it was like very fancy cars. I don't know what's a $500,000 car, what's a $5 car. Like, it just, jewelry, forget about it. I have no idea. Art, no clue. It's just not on my radar. No, I don't think about that at all.
Okay.
At all. There's a reason I have 1 hour keynote videos and 1 hour podcasts, but also pound unlimited micro content that's 10 seconds long. You can go very tactical, and a lot of people want to hear that are like, should I make a TikTok that says watch the rest on YouTube? It's less about that. People will find you, they become intrigued. Your URL strategy on all your social networks should be very thoughtful. I'm constantly changing them based on whatever my objectives are. But it just means that the world of content creating should be always thought about as and I notice that everybody's into or. Right? People are insecure. Most of you did not start on TikTok fast enough because you didn't have followers on it. You didn't start on TikTok fast enough because you had 80,000 followers on Instagram and you had 0 on TikTok, and you didn't like that feeling. That's why celebrities lost the first time around. So the things that you made fun of people for on Instagram, you became on TikTok. And so, I think it's always and. Everyone's like, or. They're like, Gary, I'm already on Instagram. They love using logical excuses like, Gary, I need to focus. I'm like, cool. Knock yourself out. I'll talk to you in 36 months when you're crying. You're focusing on losing. The lack of humility and the lack of interest in putting in the work on the new thing because you just figured out the last thing is why most people don't grow. There's not an accident that I've been winning on every platform for the last 15 years. It's called humility and hard work. You think I was pumped when I had 1 million followers on Twitter and Instagram came along? I was pissed. I'm like, I'm fucking winning this bird game. But I'm like, fuck, everyone's gonna go there, so I need to go. You think I was pumped when TikTok came along? I was dominating the gram. I was like, that's where it's gonna be. So the lack of humility and the lack of shit, I don't wanna learn this new thing, I just got this, that's fine. There's a problem though. What you want has nothing to do with what the market is doing. The market doesn't give a shit about your feelings. The market's not like, oh, Tyrone spent a lot of time on fucking Instagram, we should not create TikTok. You think God's thinking like that? Get the fuck out of here. My friends, we're living through the greatest era of fake entrepreneurship right now. It's gotten so cool that everybody wants to be one. And it scares me. Listen, I was one. I'm benefiting from the popularity of entrepreneurship. That doesn't mean that I don't want to talk about all the perils when you try to be an entrepreneur when you're not. I want to remind this room that the 17th employee at Facebook made a lot more money than 99.99999% of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship on a pedestal is a very dangerous game. It's extremely lonely, it's extremely difficult, and the reality is to be a true entrepreneur that's able to navigate successfully, you have to be in a position where you have a great relationship with the judgment. People struggle with judgment, especially from their friends and family. Judgment is the poison of our society, and it is accelerated where you have nowhere to hide. How many people here are employees? You work somewhere, raise your hand. Raise them, don't worry, raise them high. For everybody who just raised their hand, I think being an employee is phenomenal, and I'll tell you why. The best part of being an employee is you always have somebody else to blame. One of the reasons I know that we're living through the greatest era of entrepreneurship is because I get hundreds and thousands of DMs and messages, and I have meetings with entrepreneurs every day, and I'm fascinated with their ability to spend the majority of our time together complaining or painting a picture of other people within their organization being at fault for their lack of success. Entrepreneurs, one more time, I apologize, hands in the air. Let me give you my best tidbit before I leave. 100% of the problems with your company is 100% your fault. When I tell you that there are 500 problems at VaynerMedia that I can think of right now, I can do that right now. They're all my fault because the people that are running those situations, I hired them. They may suck, but it's my responsibility to fire them and replace them. I'm also the one that hired them, or I hired the person that hired them. If you raise your hand and you're an entrepreneur, I promise you the quickest way to happiness and success is 100% blind accountability.
I want to go more on the offense, finding clients for custom music. And I know I need to be more consistent with social media, but if you were me, how would you find new clients that help generate revenue consistently in an industry that's more typically one-off licensing?
By being more consistent with content on social media.
Good answer.
Just the reason I just did that is I want everybody to replay what just happened. There's something very fascinating about either needing affirmation from somebody that you admire, repeating something to oneself. You know, the fact that you know the answer and you stated it in your question. Hey Gary, and now I know I need to stay consistent with more, right? That moment you and I just had is the single most important moment. Like I want my team to cut that. I'm gonna put it on Instagram and TikTok. It is the most important moment, my friend. I am wildly simple. I say my stuff, I say it over and over again, but people don't hear it because they don't want to do the thing that I'm saying. It's funny that there was a fitness guy on, right? Like everybody knows how to get into better shape. It is eat healthy and cleaner, right? And put in work in the gym. Literally that's it. But we will fucking inject implants into our ass, drink ciders and vinegars, fucking take weird ass pills that we have no idea what the fuck they're about. I say every day right now that 98 to 99% of NFTs are going to zero. Nobody hears it. They're just looking to make $2,000 on a snail with a fucking liquor pipe in its mouth. Like nobody here. Like I will say it 9,000 times, and when the market does crash, everyone's gonna be like, Gary, and I'm like, I fucking said 99% of this shit's going to zero every fucking day. I have sat here for 15 years saying if you make content consistently at scale on the platforms that people are paying attention to, for you, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, it's just massively important. If you follow what I wrote in the Thank You Economy 100 years ago, if you reply to everybody that's talking about music jingles and music on Twitter and just join the conversation, literally search, music and like jingles and like, whatever, your terms to your business. And you just sit there for 2 hours and say, hey, I know something about that. You're using the wrong key, or bringing value, not even saying like, hire me. That's why I wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. Give value, and then say, hey, by the way, I do this for a living. LinkedIn is an incredible place for you. Incredible. I talked about LinkedIn at nausea on this platform and have continued to talk about it. How much LinkedIn content are you making? I'll save you time. None. Right?
I post about 3 times a week on LinkedIn, so I need to be posting.
Not bad. No, listen, honestly, I'm happier about that. That's a great number for you. I really thought it was gonna be 0. But it's kind of like push-ups, like 13's better than 3. And then the question becomes, what do you post? And for me, it's like, posting things like, here's how I think about providing the most value when I write music for someone. and then a manifesto, which gives me an insight on the other side of Vayner. Look, I run fucking VaynerX. We want to buy music all the time. If I see that in my stream, and this happens to me all the time, if I see that in the stream, I just hit the link and send it to our music rights buyer.
Cool.
This is just very important, right? Like when you've given me the answer to my question in the question like you just did, then you fucking know what to do. Find a way to make it more fun for you so that you can fucking do more of it.
Perfect. Most of the people that I expose to on social media are musicians and songwriters, so they're not typically the clients that I would go to.
Let me teach you something that's gonna help a lot of people here. Thank you for saying that. The way I think about things is making content that the audience that I'm exposed to, that is forwardable to the person I want to get to. Let me give you an example. I put out a lot of content around the mindset of parents really pushing college agenda on kids without really looking at their kid. I make the content specific to knowing the kind of thing that the kid that consumes it would share to their parent. When I make the content, I'm thinking, yes, kid, you're gonna see this, but I'm gonna make it in a way that's gonna make you share it to your parent. That's very different. So the content isn't like, hey kids, parents suck, right? Yeah, no. It's intricate so that it brings value to the parent. I'm making it for the parent, but I'm making it in a way that I know the kid's gonna be the one that sees it and will forward it to the parent. And the content will not make the parents say, fuck this guy, even though usually they do say that because there's such a big ideology of college. I need you to know that, okay, I have music people in front of me, but I'm gonna make this piece of content for them with the thought that they may be the gateway to bring me exposure to who I'm trying to get to.
So valuable. Thank you so much.
You see what I'm doing there? I'll give you an example. VaynerMedia has made content that's trying to reach 60-year-old dads, and we've made TikToks that we know 14-year-old daughters are gonna see and share it with their dad. There's a lot more strategy to the shit I do than people realize. That's an insight to it right there. You know, you have to understand, businesses are just made up of people. Like for example, we don't even have a system to watch what our people are doing. I trust my people and I want good for them. I want them to be productive, but I want them to be happy. And if it makes them happy to tweet all day in between meetings, mazel tov. My father wants to ban cell phones in the liquor store. Because if somebody checks their text for 1 second to see if their mom or if their bus is on time, my dad loses his mind. That's on my time. Two very different men, me and my dad. There's no chance you're tweeting all day with Pops. You can fucking make unlimited content with me. And that's the world. There's a bunch of Sashas, there's a bunch of Garys. If you want to do what you just said, you better work for a fucking Gary. And if you don't right now, and it means so much to you to post, well then you should start looking for another job. If you're good, then you're good. But that is it. It is that simple.
I like it. Yeah, because I want to start being able to, you know, before I started listening to your content, I wasn't aware of the importance of building your brand. You know, on social media, it was more of, you know, while I'm at work, while I'm at coworkers, friends, you know, building my brand in person with people that I interact with every day. But it's more, so once I started listening to what you talk about, it's like, okay, if I do one day want to start my own business, which I do, starting to build that process, but you know, I kind of struggled with, I didn't want to do that all the time while I'm still working at, you know, a company.
Look, you also have to be respectful, right? You know, like doing the right thing is always the right thing. If you're getting paid and you're quietly like not working, we have some employees that are trying to be very clever at Vayner. And my big thing is like, A, I laugh because I'm like, do they think they're tricking me? B, you know, I just want to say to them like, hey man, like hey gal, like doing the right thing is important. Like, you know, like you will lose in the end when you don't do the right things. And so I think, you know, finding the right balance on that is very important, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but on the flip side, I tell a lot of my business friends, I'm like, yo, why are you mad at that person? You're fucking emailing them at all hours of the night, right? These people are supposed to work 9 to 5, 9 to 6. Like you're fucking hitting them at 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 6. Like, don't be on a fucking pedestal, business owner. Like your person might have, yes, spent 7 minutes. You might be on the clock right now and here we are, fine. But what about at 8:30 when you email them and they have to do something for 15 minutes? Like people keeping score on some bullshit. Like your employees are your family.
Yep.
And as a business owner, if you don't see it that way, you've already lost. I also want to talk about why, whether it's literally, I think this is now obvious, running for office in any politics around the world, whether it's selling sneakers, whether it's becoming famous, like everything is about supply and demand. Demand is something one has to create. That has been done a million different ways through the test of time. As a real estate agent in the 80s, it was really being the queen or king of your local area, whether it was bench ads or direct mail or being ridiculously involved in the local sports or the PTA, like you just physically networked. In 2023, it is virtually networking, right? It starts with content and then it comes down to like how much in the grind are you? When you saw that, if I know people were getting settled, but if you saw that video, that little reply email, like I'm in for 15 at like 1 in the morning, I wrote that. Every DM or reply that anybody has ever gotten here from my account is me. There's no some weird fucking intern in Japan doing that shit for me. That's why we have a Team Gary account. Team Gary may reply because just of scale, but most people get fancy before they've earned it. There's a lot of people at this conference in this room right now talking big game, but aren't actually willing to put in the dirt work in the trenches to get what their mouth is saying. And the reason I'm double motivated is not only is the content framework changing in front of our eyes, and I've always, over the last decade, have won in those shifts. And that's why we're gonna win again, and that's why I'm desperate for the 13 people that really listen to me today and do something about it, they're gonna win. But it's also happening when this industry is about to have a macro issue, which means it's supply and demand. Not only is it important to win when there's an attention shift, there's even double importance when your macro industry is gonna get squeezed, and there is no confusion to anybody in this room that the macro industry is going to get squeezed because the math is clear as day. You could be optimistic as fuck and delusional and put your head in the sand, you're more than welcome. But the reality is shit's about to hit the fan in some shape or form. Nobody knows if it's this, that, I don't know if it's 08, I don't know if it's 01, I don't know if it's 87, but the math is clear. And so, I don't know. You're more than welcome to have a strategy that looks like this. I hope shit stays good. Or you can look at what has already happened, and depending on where you are in the country, some of you have already felt it. And then the people that haven't felt it are making up dumb things like, well, they're feeling it, but we're not gonna feel it. Our market's different. The macro market is going to be affected. So what gets super fun about that is all these fucking talks of the last decade of my life have been all about timing. This is all timing. And so I come to you this morning in what I believe is perfect timing, like literally perfect timing. And I hope this framework of like what I just said really gets some people's attention to double down on whatever they're feeling, whether that's fear or ambition. I hope you fucking double down. And what I want you to double down on is content. It's as simple as that. Let there be no confusion. I don't care how great your reputation is. I don't care how many contacts you have in your cell phone. What you're doing by not going all in on content is leaving opportunity on the table. It's not that you're gonna go out of business. It's that somebody sitting next to you's cousin that's in the same market as you is gonna pick up market share against you if they go into content when they're not as good as you. Or if you're really good, you're just being double the size of your business. A lot of people here might not want it. And I mean that. Like, to me, this is about, do you want to grow the business? I don't think everyone should grow a business. You might be in a life cycle where you want to spend more time with your family, you want to chill out, maybe you're selling, that's all good. Everything that I'm talking about is strictly, do you want it to grow? And sometimes grow is important because if we are right, body, energy-wise, that the macro market gets squeezing, one of the reasons you need it to grow is so it stays at the same level that you're at right now. You're fighting for opportunity. You all know this. How many people have been in this game for over 15 years? Raise your hand. Raise them higher, just so I get a sense. This is awesome. So you 15-year plus OGs know exactly what I'm about to say, which is when the market is awesome, even F players make money. And they think they're A players, but they're not because the market, right? You've seen it. That's what's about to happen right now. And it's a tricky one, right? Because for some of the 15 plus OGs in this room, you just might not have as much energy as you did 20 years ago when you crushed during a down market. You might have got a little soft. You like fishing on the weekend, right? You like, instead of grinding email, you like, and so like, this is just real. Where am I at as a human being? Not everybody should triple down and bleed for it this period because maybe you're not in that place. Maybe you've been saving your money and you just don't want to, and that's awesome. But for anybody who does, or for anybody who needs to because you've been living a bigger lifestyle than you can actually afford and you don't have savings and the market really needs to be where it's at, you need to get very serious with me in this session about the following. If you are not producing 10, 15, 20 pieces of internet content for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, all these platforms a day, you are vulnerable. And it's a big ass number for the people in here that are making 2 a week. When I'm out here, like I want you to put out 15 pieces of content a day, and it doesn't mean 15 original pieces of content that you make. It means, do you do a podcast? I mean, look at my content. How many people here follow me? Give me a sense. Thank you. So for the people that raised their hand, you see it. I'm not out here, I'm not fucking dancing on TikTok. I'm not fucking spending time to make content. I'm living my life, created a framework that allows me to produce post-production. As much as I love the origin story of how I got to this stage with that video, because I love his hustle and I love everything about what I just saw, the single reason I'm here, and my speaking fee is not low, but the single reason I am on stage right now is for the content. The single reason I am on stage right this second, the only reason I do podcasts with other people, which is why often you see me put people on and do their first podcast, is because I'm not doing it because I'm trying to get audience from their podcast. I don't need Rogan. I want to put some kid on that's on the way, because the real reason I'm doing it is 1, to do karma and put the next generation on, and 2, I just need the content for me. It doesn't matter who's asking me the question. I need my answer, and I need to chop it the fuck up, and I need to pound it down your fucking throats on every platform in the world. Got it? So like a lot of people in all these business circles, and you probably sense this, so many people come up to me every day, DM, real life, it happened already twice here. So many people sense that I'm slightly different, and it's because I am. And what I'm just trying to do is get all of you to be different with me because it works. And it's good. But what it requires is a lot of self-awareness. The biggest reason people don't win and have stopped, the people in here who have stopped doing a lot of content because they don't see the ROI, is only because they didn't put themselves in a position to succeed. It's like getting into better shape, right? Like, cool, you can starve yourself for 2 weeks. That's not sustainable. Like, cool, you could like if you don't find something that works for you forever, you won't do it. If you're a real business person like I am, spending 3 hours a day to make videos is not gonna work for you. You got family and you got a business to run. But can you do a podcast once a week strictly for the 13 pieces of content it produces for you because you film it and post-produce it? All of you can, because I'm busy as fuck and I do it. So what we need to figure out today is a couple things. By the way, not everybody here should be on video. Because you're not good at it, or because you can get better at it, maybe you just really don't like it, comma, you're an unbelievable writer. And that writing can be absolutely transcribed into post-production videos. Like maybe you're more comfortable you love talking, but something happens when the camera goes on you. And and I'm empathetic. I get all the DMs, I read them. People don't like the way they look, their weight, women's, all the lady entrepreneurs are like, easy for you, Gary, I gotta do makeup and fucking hair. And I'm like, I get it. I'm like, or you don't give a fuck what people think of your looks. right? Like seriously. And by the way, that's like we need self-esteem of who we are as human beings, not how much money we make or what we look like. That's how you can get to making video fast. And by the way, all those people that shit on you and say you fucking look terrible, like feel bad for them, don't feel bad for you. Imagine living a life where you go around social media and try to make people feel sad. Do you know how fucked up sad your life is? Don't feel bad for you, feel bad for them.